Now, listen to me and listen to me closely, please. This lesson, this practice right now, just like the last couple of lessons, have not been designed to have you walk out of here and be somebody else's investment advisor. This lesson is not so you can walk out of here tomorrow and go buy a house. This crap is significantly more complicated. What we are doing now is to give you an idea of how this stuff happens. Okay? Laws change, interest rates change, banks change the way they do business, but most of this stuff is pretty fundamentally sound. Do you understand what I mean? Regardless of what happens to law, regardless of what happens to interest rates, regardless of what happens to anything, the basic concepts underlying everything we're doing in this finance unit will continue regardless. Okay? Now, this first one, it talks about mortgages. Now, mortgages is a very personal choice. A great many people in North America, and when I say North America, I really mean Canada and the United States, have this real desire to own the house, to own the land upon which the house sits. A great many other countries in the world do not put a high value on owning your home. A great many people in the world are perfectly happy to rent their home. So, bear in mind that this is a different state of affairs from a lot of the world. Even places in North America do not have high levels of home ownership. For example, if you go to Manhattan in New York City, which is arguably some of the most expensive real estate in the world, very few people own their homes. Most people rent. Right? Hong Kong, also incredibly high real estate value. Incredibly. Makes Vancouver look acceptable. There are places where people prefer to rent. All right? Because there's a lot of responsibility that goes with owning a home. Number one, if you don't pay it, you lose the home. If you don't pay your rent, they kick you out. And in BC, there's so many laws to protect you, it takes like 5 years before they can get you kicked out. So it doesn't matter. All right? So what we are going to talk about is something that is very near and dear and important to a great many people. But not necessarily something that all of you are going to necessarily get involved with. Right? You may not ever buy a house. You may not ever buy a condo. You may not ever buy a townhouse. You may rent for your whole life. And there is nothing wrong with that. People will tell you that the best thing to do is buy a house because then you're not throwing your money away. That might be true. But things change. Right? I know plenty of people that bought houses in small towns and then the major industry left that small town and now their house is worthless. So regardless of how much money they didn't throw away, their house is not worth what they paid for. I have another friend who has $1 million house right on the beach in Sechelt, but most of her neighborhood is caving into the ocean. Her house is fine, but all the roads to get to her house have caved in, are starting to cave into the ocean. So everybody who lived there had to be kicked out. Her house is now worthless. Has she been paying into it? Yes. But now, what good has it done her? All right? Everything you do with your money is a gamble. Even something that seems as safe as buying a piece of land. All right? Okay. Now that being said, we happen to live in probably the best part of Canada right now for real estate because nobody can buy any property in Vancouver. There is no house in Vancouver, that is worth less than $2 or $3 million. There is no townhouse in Vancouver, 2-bedroom townhouse, that is worth less than $1 million. So, fortunately for us, everybody wants to live in Vancouver but can't afford to live in Vancouver. So where do they go? They start in Surrey, where houses are now $1.5 million. Nobody can afford that, so they move to where? Langley, because they can still say they live in Vancouver. Langley houses are worth $1 million. So then where do they go? Aldergrove. Then where do they go? Abbotsford, where houses are $900,000. Then where do they go? Chilliwack, where houses are $750,000 to $800,000, which is wonderful for those of us that bought houses when Chilliwack was looked upon as the stinky capital of the world. Now, of course, now that hip, young, cool people can't afford to live anywhere closer to Vancouver, Chilliwack all of a sudden has houses that are worth a lot of money. Good for me, my house is a piece of crap. But some idiot is going to buy it for a phenomenal amount of money, which is going to allow me to retire in Ecuador. Lucky. However, that moving east of Vancouver will end, right? Plenty of abandoned homes in Boston Bar. Pick them up for a song. What good will it do you? Nothing. Everybody understand? All right, so you may not be involved in mortgages, but if you do get involved in mortgages, then this is some stuff that you have to know. You read through that, most of it makes sense. There's some stuff in there that are words you need to be aware of. Collateral. Nobody is going to loan you money to buy a house unless there's a house. Okay? I'm going to go to the bank, I'm going to say I'm going to buy this house. Then they know that if you don't pay it, they can take that house back. You don't go to the bank and say, hey, give me $1 million so I can go buy some house somewhere. It's not the way it works. Okay? Properties cost, this is another one. 25 years is the maximum length you can get a mortgage for in Canada right now by law. There used to be 30 and 40-year mortgages. They do not exist anymore. That is because you won't remember it, but about 15 years ago, the American banking system nearly collapsed because they lent money to everybody. I work at 7-Eleven for $4.50 an hour. Bank lent me $2 million to buy a house. All of a sudden, you can't afford to pay for it. Now, the bank sold your mortgage to some other bank, who then sold your mortgage to some other bank, who then sold that mortgage to some other bank. All these banks are paying each other off. Sooner or later, you can't make the payment, so the bank that actually owns your mortgage at that time can't pay the other bank. They can't pay the other bank. They can't pay the other bank, and banking systems collapse. That was a very big deal in the United States. Huge deal. Destroyed businesses, destroyed people. It was really, really bad. The Canadian banking system didn't have that happen because our banks, there's only 5 of them, and the government is heavily involved in them. We have rules. But to make sure, we changed some of those rules. One of those rules, we had a maximum. You cannot get a mortgage more than 25 years. Amortized is a word you need to know. Amortized. You can see right in the word amortized, mort, mortgage. You can also see mort, which means death in French, but, I'm not saying that. Amortization period. There's the definition right there. How long it will take to pay back the loan. Mortgages are paid. Usually you pay a monthly mortgage fee. Now that is the type of thing that is changing now. I, for example, pay my mortgage every 2 weeks, which means I make 26 mortgage payments a year. If you pay it monthly, you only make 12. If you pay it semi-monthly, you only make 24. But all 3 people, say Justin pays monthly, Jashin pays semi-monthly, so 24 times a year, and I pay bi-weekly, so I pay 26 times a year. Who will pay their mortgage off faster if we all borrow the same amount of money? I'm paying 26 times a year. No, that's just it. You make a choice. I would pay more times a year, but I will pay my mortgage off sooner because I am making 26 payments a year. Right? It's like paying an extra month as opposed to Jashan. So over 25 years, I've made 2 extra payments per year, right? So I've made 20 extra payments. So I've almost saved a year of my mortgage. Everybody understand? Okay. Now, this is the important part. Banks are unwilling to quote interest rates for more than 5 years. So, it's going to take me 25 years to pay off the loan, right? But the bank will only guarantee my interest for 5 years. What happens after 5 years? I got to go through the whole process again. All right? Now, you will hear when you go out and buy mortgages things like fixed rate. What do you think that means in regular English? What does fixed mean? Solid, doesn't change. You can get a fixed rate mortgage. So they'll give you a percentage for 5 years. And you're locked in. It never changes. Even if interest rates go down, you're paying that same interest rate. But what if interest rates go up? You're paying that same interest rate. What is the benefit of having a fixed rate? You always know for the next 60 months how much your house is going to cost you. Nothing can change that. Everybody cool? You will also hear of something called a variable rate. And it might be significantly lower than the fixed rate. But what does variable mean? It changes. So if some world thing happens and the world financial markets change and our interest rates go up, what will happen to yours? It will go up. So you have to make a decision. Are you willing to take that risk? Or are you the type of person who likes to know as close as you can the future? Your choice. Personally, I have always chosen a fixed rate. My time of owning a house, it hasn't made that much difference. And then I always know what I'm paying. And I like that for my budgeting purposes. Because all of you are aware from my stories that while I understand what I should do with money, I do not do that with money. Right? Everybody cool? Okay. And here is why they do that. Yeah, 4% for 2 years. Or 6% for 5 years. What's the difference? Your level of risk. Everybody cool? Now, this is where it gets a little weird. Mortgage interest is calculated annually or semi-annually. So it's 7% either compounded yearly or compounded semi-annually. So your compounding periods are either 1 per year or 2 per year. Usually they do it twice. But they don't have to. When in doubt, we assume it is semi-annual. Right? Now, because it is a loan, the payments are done at the end of the period. So if I owe the money, they are going to put that interest on first, then I'm going to make my payment. Everybody cool? Then I subtract that payment from the total owing. Why? It maximizes the interest going to the bank. And let's be honest. Everybody talks about how horrible banks are, but I don't have $480,000 to buy a 2-bedroom apartment. Do you? So without them, nobody gets a home to own. Right? All right. Since it's just a loan, we can still use our TVM solver. Turn over to page 204. Let's get into our formula, or apply our financial app. on the calculator. Remember to find that. It is Apps, Finance, TVM Solver. And I have my piece of crap ready to go here. Mine's already open. Now, do you need to write these all in? No, you could just write them right into your, punch them right into your calculator. I don't really care. But I like to write them in because then it just helps my thinking. But I'm significantly more analog than you people are. So maybe you don't want to write it down. Ironically, I am being analog in a digital forum. So, my man Gino made a $25,000 down payment. Does that factor in to my mortgage? It does, but will it factor in over here? No, because the mortgage is the amount I borrow from the bank, right? If I've got $25,000 and the house costs $425,000, how much do I need from the bank? $400,000. So I have to remember my mortgage amount equals my price minus my down payment. Now, in Canada, you must, and I'm 90% sure of this, your down payment, unless it's your very first home, your down payment must be 20% of the price of the home. So you all are young. The first place you buy, you, if I'm not mistaken, can still do a 5% down payment on your first home. I believe it might be 10. I don't remember. I forgot to research it today. But it's only on your first home. So you can get started. All right? So this guy came up with $25,000. That is about a 5% down payment. Yes? Because 10% would be $42,500. He's a little better than 5%. So, what is going where? Do I know my payments? How are mortgages paid? Usually. Monthly, right? So, what are my number of payments? How many payments in a month? Or in a year? 12 times how many years does this guy want to use to pay off his home? 15. So my N is 12 times 15. Now, if you can do that in your head, great. If not, you're just going to do 12 times 15 and get your 180. Yeah? Interest, 7. It's written right there. Present value. How much money did this guy get? No, that's what he paid. He had $400,000. Will we enter it technically? Should we enter it as a negative or a positive? Positive. Why? Because the money is coming into my pocket to go and buy a home. Do I know my payment? No, that's what we're trying to find out. What will be my monthly payment? What is the future value that I'm hoping to get to? 0. So my monthly payment, I'm going to clear, but I know the calculator won't let me leave it blank, right? So what do I enter there? 0. Future value, what am I hoping for? 0. How many payments am I making in a year? No, I'm paying it monthly. 12. And how many compounds a year? Does it specify? So what did I tell you to do if we're unsure? Semi-annually, twice. And when do we do our payments? At the end. And what are we trying to solve? We're trying to solve the payment. So we go up to payment, alpha, enter. And how much does this dude have to pay? No, $3,572.99.77. So what's that really? $3,573 a month. Now, that is a lot of money. Okay? My house, my first mortgage, I had to borrow $300,000 by the time I'd done my down payment and everything. And I had to pay $2,800 a month. Okay, why was it less, do you think? Because I haven't told you anything else about my mortgage. What do you think I did differently that allowed me to pay $800 a month less than this guy? Hallie? Maybe I made a higher down payment. Maybe. Okay? I did borrow less because I only borrowed $300,000, right? Lower interest rate. I did not get a 7% interest rate. My interest rate was lower. Okay, what else could I have done? Sarah? Yeah, I could have done a longer amortization. Everybody cool? Everybody understands? Those are 3 things you can do to drastically change the amount you pay. Okay? All right. We're good, yeah? Well, let's just see what happens. Because this is what I did. I bumped up to 25 years. Does anything here change? Yeah, what changes? It's not 12 times 15 anymore. What is it? 12 times 25. So let's head up to our numbers and change it to 12 times 25. I know a great many of you can do that in your head, but it is now 300. Now let's check our payment. Alpha, enter. And all of a sudden our payment becomes $2,801.66. Why would you do that? Shouldn't you want to own your house sooner? Right? What'd you say, Sarah? I'm sorry. That's a very valid point. If I buy a house that I plan to live in for the rest of my life, does it really matter? Does it? As a matter of fact, I would argue if you're going to live there for the rest of your life, or think you are, why wouldn't you give yourself $700 extra a month? What could we have done with our knowledge from yesterday with this $700 a month? Invested in something. Go back to one of yesterday's things, start a $700 a month investment at 2 or 3% and see what happens to that money over the course of 25 years. See what I'm saying? These are all choices you have to make. And it's not as simple as everyone says it is, right? A lot of people are like, oh, pay off your mortgage as much as you possibly can, shortest period possible. Why would you ever want to owe the bank money? Because I'm saving $700 a month and I'm putting that in a bank account. Right? Most of the time in our part of the world, the house is going to end up being worth more than I bought it for, right? So, is this $700 going to be made up double? You're going to make it up in the price of your house. Because I borrowed $300,000 for my house. My house is now worth $500,000. Did I do anything? I lived in it for 10 years and I have $200 extra $1,000, right? So if I sold my house right now, I'd have $200,000 in my pocket. What if, for the past 15 years, I'd also been putting $700 a month into a bank account. How much money would I have? Crap tons. But I got to wait 25 years to pay it off. If I was 60, which one of these would you do? You do the 15-year one? Why? If you die. Okay. You might pay it off before you're 75 and you own the house clear, and then they sell it for $800,000 and your kids and grandkids get all that money. Sweet deal. But maybe you do this and you put $700 in some bank account for your grandkids, and they sell the house when you die at 75. You still owe 10 years on it, but they sell it. What happens with the money? Is it worth more than you bought it for? You've paid off 15, that's 3/5 of the mortgage, right? Now, the money you borrow to buy that house, does it go up? Does the money you have to pay back to the bank go up? No. Does the value of the house go up? Yeah. So, for example, again, I borrowed $300,000, right? If I sell my house right now, they're going to pay me $500,000, right? I owe the bank some money, some portion of that $300,000, right? Because I've been paying it off, right? So let's say I've paid off $100,000 in my house. I don't actually know. I don't pay attention. I don't care. The money just comes out of my account. You got to pay to live. Rent, mortgage, whatever. You got to pay. I don't care what it is. I do no work with this. I don't research. I don't go in and fight for an extra percent. I don't care. But anyway, say I've paid off $100,000. I borrowed $300,000. How much do I owe the bank? I borrowed $300,000 10 years ago. I've paid off $100,000 in my house. How much do I still owe the bank? $200,000. What's my house worth? $500,000. So even if I sold my house right now, still owing the bank $200,000, how much money am I going to make? $300,000. Everybody understand? The money you borrow doesn't change. So even if you do one of these weird situations where you buy a house when you're 75 and die when you're 80, you're probably still going to get money on it. All right, let's check about Gino. Gino is not me. Gino does some research. This is still 300 because it's 12 times 25, but our interest rate's now 4. I still borrowed $400,000. I don't know my payment. I still want 0. Still 12, still 2, still end. Now what happens? While we wait for my calculator to wake up. There it is. I'm changing this to 4%. What's going to happen? What's going to happen before you hit alpha enter? What's going to happen? Are my payments going to be higher or lower? Lower, because I've got a better interest rate. 210408. It's another $700. Now that's a big spread. You're not going to find, unless you're a risk, like you've been bad with money, you can find a place that'll lend you for a mortgage at a higher interest rate. You can. Just like you can find people that will lend you money to buy stuff at a higher interest rate. You're not going to find a 3% difference, but you might find a 1 or a 2% difference. 2 is even big. More likely a 1% difference if you do some shopping around. Now, 1% doesn't seem like much, except it's 1% of $500,000, right? 1% of $500,000 is $5,000. Is that money that you could sneeze at? I wouldn't. That's a significant amount of money, right? So it does do you some good to shop around for interest rates. All right? Just because the bank you and your mom and dad deal with says, I'll give you a mortgage for 3.7%. Should you take it? Again, it depends on your level of risk. If you want to buy, if you found the perfect house and your bank has already said, I will give this to you for 3.7%, do you take it? You love the house, you fall in love with the house, your partner has fallen in love with the house. It's the house for you. If you've got no threshold for risk, maybe you take it. Or maybe you say to your bank, screw you, you go to the bank next door and say, those guys offered me 3.7 for this house. What will you do? They say, we'll do 3.1. Now what do? You go back to your bank and say, they'll do 3.1 next door. And your bank says, no, they won't. Then you come back with a piece of paper. Yes, they will. What does your bank then do? Lowers it again. Will you be able to get it down super low? No, eventually every bank is going to say, no, I can't beat that. And then you make your choice, right? Why do you stick with one or the other? Well, I'll give you guys an example. Remember a few years ago when teachers went on strike? We were not getting paid. We had no income. Do I still have to pay my mortgage? Yes. My mortgage company with whom I got my mortgage gave us, they said, you don't have to pay. Forget about it. Don't worry about it. Why? Because I'd been with them for 7 years. Or 4 years at the time. I can't remember. They said, it's no problem. We got you. Maybe your bank, if you go to some place where you don't have a relationship, maybe they aren't that nice. That's the type of thing you have to decide. Cool? Okay. Assuming the interest rate stays the same, how much does Gino pay for his house total at 4%? So at 4%, how much was he paying a month? What's the number that was 4%? And how many payments did he make? No. 25 years. How many payments does he make? 300. Agreed? Plus, how much more did he pay for the house that has nothing to do with the bank? Right, he paid that original $25,000, yes? So how much was his house if he got the 4% deal? What was the actual cost of the house? Because the price was $425,000. But what was the cost? Because they are different numbers, aren't they? Okay, so what's the cost? $224, and probably some cents, yeah? I wrote it out right there how you get it. What if he got stuck in the 7%? What was his payment? I think it was 28 something, wasn't it? 2801.66. Times how many payments? Times how many payments? 300 plus 25,000. How much did he pay if he'd gone with the 7%? Now, let's have a look. Last question. How much did Gino pay in interest at 4%? How much did he need to borrow? How much did he borrow? This is tricky because you're going to make a mistake here, so write it in pencil. He borrowed $400,000. Okay. How much did he pay to the bank for that mortgage? Is it this value? I got to take out the down payment, yes? So this interest is amount borrowed or amount paid, right? Minus what? No. Minus, no. Yeah, okay, the amount paid minus the down payment. right? That's in brackets. And then what? I'm looking for interest, right? This is how much he paid. How do I find the interest? Right, minus the price. So my amount paid was what? $656, $224, minus what? $25,000. And then I got to subtract out what? $400,000. So how much did dude pay in interest? You get your calculators working on that. Okay, now let's stop for a second. Everybody cool with this? So, to own my house cost me an extra $231,000. Now, some people will argue that's a good investment because if I sell the house, it's worth more than I paid for it, right? Some people will say, but if you'd rented, you don't pay any of that, do you? You pay $1,000 a month rent, maybe forever. Are you paying any interest there? You're not, right? So again, I'm not trying to influence your decisions. I'm just trying to say these are some things you need to think about. And what if we did it at 7%? It'd be the same thing, except it would be $865,498 minus $25,000 minus $400,000. And how much does he pay there? Remember, you don't need the brackets because this is all just subtraction. So don't get trapped with those. Now, again, let's take a second and stop here. This is a colossal amount of money, isn't it? It's a $200,000 difference, right? Right? But wake up. Wake up. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. There we go. $440,498 minus $231,244. It's $209,000, yeah? Divided by 300. There's that $700 difference, right? Is it worth shopping around for your mortgage? Might save you $200,000 at the end of it all. Problem with North Americans, Canadians and Americans in particular, they don't think about this end of the investment. They think about the beginning end of the investment. Everybody cool? All right. You shouldn't need me now. You should be able to figure out all of page 205, is that? Yeah? Okay, you guys do 205, the first two questions. Stop when you get to loans. You will notice that I have put gravestones for the word loans. Why have I done that? Because loans are killing us. A mortgage doesn't kill you. You need a place to live. That's personal choice. But loans are killing us. Because most of the thing you do with a loan, is it a need or is it a want? It's most likely a want. So you guys do those first two. Go. Of course you can.